Golden Black Radio is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store. Shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Lafayette location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
I'm going to add myself to the stage and maybe even remove these guys for a half second. No, I'll keep them on here as I redo the open read. They need all the airtime they can get. When it comes, we want to thank the Union Club Hotel, obviously, for sponsoring our goldenblack.com Saturday simulcast. An autograph collection retreat blends student-run hospitality with resort luxury. Enter the spa, Boiler House, prime dining, and Burke Boilermaker Golf, perfect for the wellness and Purdue fans as well as leisure seekers. Might have been better to spend a little time on the golf course this afternoon, though the weather got bad in Lafayette here late this afternoon. But our property offers serene land escapes, and book your getaway today. And, of course, we also want to thank our good friends at Twin City and the Chariot Automotive Group, serving Greater Lafayette with the best new and used Jeep selection at TwinCitySuperstore.com. All right, guys. Nate, I'll give you the first trying to explain this one. This was not a high moment. Purdue loses 19-0 to Northwestern, the first shutout in this series for Purdue since Dwight Eisenhower was running for re-election, if you can believe that. Jack Mullenkoff's first season at Purdue. And that was a top 10 Northwestern team back in that day. But anyway, so what say you on what we saw today?
Sure. First thought is Jordan's a great addition to the show since he's wearing a Cubs hat. I like that. But Alan, there's stat dominance and there's time of possession dominance, and then there's just kind of who looks the part. And Northwestern was able to do everything that they wanted to do. Very business-like performance by them, and they looked the part of a Big Ten football team. And I think, Alan, it's not just disappointing, as the Purdue Radio Network crew expressed very well, but it's perplexing. Coming off of a lot of ways, Purdue did some good things at Minnesota. They should have got the win. They didn't. And then you see this week, and it's just really hard to understand ahead of the Rutgers game, which now is just grows in importance even that much more.
Yeah, though I will argue that it's losing. The challenge is now is really being able to say, we're making progress. And yes, beating Rutgers would help certainly, but this was a step in the wrong direction. That's putting it nicely. Jordan, you endured this one and obviously do a lot of work for us writing our matchup preview and looking ahead to next week. But this was a rough road for Purdue today.
Yeah, really, as Nate said, perplexing is the word. Purdue did a lot of good things last week. I thought Purdue was, going to come out and compete, and I picked Purdue to win the game on the site. And as you look at it, the first quarter was just so emblematic. Northwestern having the ball for 13 and a half minutes, Purdue running 3 plays. It felt like Northwestern came out and had a really good game plan of how to attack. It felt like Northwestern got all of the hard yards that Purdue couldn't. And it just was kind of a snowball effect. It felt like Murphy's Law was in full effect for Purdue. When you come out of the locker room and the first play is the kickoff that doesn't make it to the end zone that you let bounce and start off at your own 9-yard line. It was just one thing after another for Purdue in a game against Northwestern. It's not like this was a game against Ohio State. All due respect to the Wildcats, who are putting together a better season than most anticipated. This isn't one of the higher caliber teams on Purdue's schedule. So to have this happen today was equally parts concerning and perplexing.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. There's no time to sugarcoat this at this point. Barry Odom, I thought, was at least in his post-game radio comments, was honest about the fact that, what are you going to say? You got to get back to work, try to change the mentality here. I just thought, it was listless was the term I saw. I just thought Purdue just, like you said, it was dropping the ball to start the game, missing tackles, which has been a problem, and what was the statistic of the year? I think was what Purdue had more penalties and plays with 7 minutes to go in the first half. They had 7 plays from scrimmage and 7 or 6 penalties or whatever that number was pretty astounding. And I think that's where, again, I think the biggest challenge for Purdue is, and we're all watching them week in and week out, is trying to, have momentum going into next year, into the program. And I think that's where that will be the challenge. Now, I get that Purdue's got 4 games that everybody is completely writing off in November, and that may or may not be totally fair. They're going to play those games, but they're going to be 3 touchdown underdogs, and at least probably in all 4 of those games. Maybe not Washington, I don't know. But my point is, it's really, really a dark moment. When you start to question about whether has Purdue hit rock bottom yet, last year, obviously at the end of the season it did, but I think this is where you got to start looking for answers and looking for effort. And I don't know, you guys going to render an opinion there. Nate, I'll maybe start with you. It's hard to tell, especially when you watch it on TV, and we'll ask Dub and Tom shortly what they saw, but not effort. It's just the attention to details, the penalties, the things like that leads you to believe that maybe it's not effort, but it is focus. That is a clear problem.
Alan, I agree totally. And I grabbed something out of Purdue's game notes that just had a combined number on, it was like 979, the amount of snaps, whatever, that with Purdue with 82 newcomers. These guys have played football. A lot of these guys have made other stops. And so you're looking for, as you put it, a little more attention to detail in spots, and we're just not seeing that in enough bunches to play, as Barry Odom puts it, winning football.
And Ryan Brown, Jordan's injury, though, I think we'll wait for the post-game report. He was on the sideline, and I don't know if you had texted us about him being in a sling, or not a sling, but a brace of some kind. Obviously, he did not return, and I doubt that Barry Odom will make anything definitive, I would guess, from post-game, but we'll see. But anything more on that front, and the fact that Malachi Singleton did stir some things up. He stirred a couple things up the wrong way, but he stirred some things up in a positive way. But, we were banking a lot, we being Purdue people, Purdue viewers, Purdue observers, on Ryan Brown being the centerpiece of this program, and he could be out for a while. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out. I had both the TV and the radio call on going back and forth, and both of them made it sound like Brown could have gone back in. I don't know if that's the case or not. That's just kind of the vibe I got from both the TV and the radio. As far as rock bottom, it better be. I mean, if there's a rock bottom lower than this, really not great. Now, as you said, sorry, my dog's barking. November could be rough for Purdue. But yeah, we'll find out. I don't know what. Goodness gracious, I'm sorry. I don't know what
podcast. You're all right.
From putting Ryan Brown back in, you might as well see what you have in Singleton, because both of these guys have eligibility left after this year, and you've got to know going into the portal, do you need a quarterback? That's the biggest question for Purdue, and I think whatever you can do in the next 5 games to figure out where you stand exactly at quarterback, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, because if you got to go in the portal and get a quarterback, that's a challenge.
Yeah. Well, and I think too with Ryan Brown, I mean, in fairness to him, all right, I'll give him Purdue did generate offense the first 2 games, the last 2 conference games, and you have to hope he's your guy down the road. But again, if this is a long-term injury, and if you don't win another game, then everything's subject to debate, and it is going to be the question, because you see that. I mean, this is the greatest under-analysis of all time here. All teams that are making the biggest progress have got big-time quarterbacks, and again, Ryan Brown's been I think serviceable, if not good enough, but he may need to be great. We know, watching Purdue football over the years, that quarterback has to be great. But he's got to have guys around him that can get the job done too, guys to catch footballs, etc. I think that's an important part of that as well. Nate, and I think we've got some questions here, and obviously some people that this is an interesting question only because today was Basketball Media Day. I think it's the age-old question, even in our world at goldenblack.com, is trying to fight apathy because we got homecoming next week. You're right. It is very, very important. Purdue goes out and gives a good effort because you're going to fight that now that all the attention will be on that men's basketball game next Friday night in Kentucky. And you want to, if you're Purdue football, you can't lose any level of momentum with fans. And that certainly is a concern. Nate, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Alan, it's a high wire act because you're exactly right. You and I have talked about this on our old radio show over the years, that you're going to have to do it in the dark, if you will, now, and try to keep any fan interest, because once, as has been the case many times over the years at Purdue, once fan interest turns to basketball, especially this season, man, it's hard, and the weather turns as well here. So you saw that on the schedule when it came out, you needed to make hay in the month of October. Now all of a sudden, you only have one more chance to get something positive, and then the gauntlet of November, as everybody's attention turns to the men's basketball program. That thing I mentioned earlier, it's 979 games played. Alan, Purdue's transfer class brought a wealth of experience out of Purdue's game notes just under 1,000 games played at previous stops. And so that's what I'm talking about when you see, veteran guys, some of these mistakes, they're not freshmen. And some of those mistakes are what they've got to clean up.
Yeah, no question on that front. Jordan, you look at that and you watch, again, obviously there's all the excitement in the world of men's basketball. You want to keep this going. And Purdue's, in all honesty, at least the announced crowds have been pretty darn good. I mean, they still had 56,000 for Illinois. I don't know what the numbers are next week, though. I'm anticipating because it's homecoming, it'll be in that neighborhood. Obviously, there'll be some things, and I think not that we're giving long-term weather predictions, but I think the weather's supposed to be good. They should be good. People make plans to come for home again. But that just adds more to it. You got to keep people engaged. And then in the transfer portal world, in the NIL world, you've got to keep people engaged, from that standpoint.
Yeah, you can't take the support for granted. Purdue fans have been really good over the past few years here of supporting through some not so great football, and the basketball temptation is real. It's going to be an exciting year. I know Brian was at Fan Day, and I know fans are rightfully really fired up about this basketball season, but you can't afford for apathy to seep in. It's just with the money that's involved in big time college football now, and with the TV money and with where the Big Ten is, Purdue can't let apathy seep into the program from anyone, really. It's critically important that Purdue get the ship righted here in coming seasons.
Yeah. What's the name of your dog? I'm going to have to talk to him.
Yeah, her name's Demi. Yeah, she's
Demi.
Well,
Demi,
Jordan.
I know we're dealing with a rough time here. I mean, I get it.
Get her a snack, Jordan.
Yeah, she laid down through the whole game. Slept through the whole game, and now she's fired up, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess she had enough.
Yeah.
Hey,
maybe that's
Alan.
it. Okay.
Hey, Alan, I was going to say credit Northwestern too, Alan. They had every reason to maybe have some kind of a little letdown off the euphoria of their win in Happy Valley last Saturday, 22-21 over Penn State, and they just come out very businesslike today.
Yeah, they did, and putting up some of these more astounding numbers. 7 minutes and 39 seconds, the time of possession in the first half. And was it 3 plays? I think Northwestern ran 23 to 26. Was it 27 of the first 30 plays of the game? A problem. Yeah, no, you do. And they and David Braun, they do what they say they're going to do. And we've talked about this, ask questions. I know Dub and Tom have asked question after question. Even Brian's written about it several times about what is the identity, of this program. Obviously Purdue has been the cradle of quarterbacks, and Barry Odom wants to come in and be what he wants to be. Was it hard, tough, and smart, or whatever what his mantra is, and that's a good thing. But again, it is, you got to be who you're going to be. And Purdue's really, really struggling in that area right now. And that it all makes, another thing we always say, and I think it's true, and that is it's never as bad as it seems. It never is as good as it seems. But this is definitely a darker day just because Northwestern really throttled Purdue and shut Purdue out for the first time in 55 games in the series. That's a hard one to do. All right, Jordan, we're going to let you take care of it. We appreciate you jumping in today. Dub has pulled up from the press conference. Have a good rest of your evening, and thanks for taking the time to join us. We appreciate all you do on the site, too. Look for Jordan's work. He'll be doing a first looking at Rutgers. He does a great job in the matchup preview as well. Many other things he does with us with goldenblack.com. We appreciate that and appreciate all you do.
Alan, Purdue will be looking to beat Rutgers for the first time ever next Saturday.
Ever.
Purdue,
that's a good note.
0-2 against the Scarlet Knights.
Yes, that was two of Jeff Brom's darkest moments. But what about Jeff Brom? Man, oh God, he beats another top 5 team. Purdue fans don't want to hear that. Jordan, take care, my friend, and we'll bring Dub on and have a good rest of your evening, man.
See you guys. Take care.
See you, Jordan.
All right, Dub, welcome back. You stayed awake during this whole thing. I know you did.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess my first question for you is just with what did Barry have to say? We heard him on radio, but anything different? He didn't take off his shoe and slam it on the desk, I assume. But what was the outside of the obvious? What did you hear in postgame?
No, he did not slam his shoe, but it sounded more like disappointment and almost like sad. I think before when they've suffered losses, it's been more frustrated, and I feel like this one is just there's no justifying how Purdue played today. They said they got their what's whooped, and gave credit to Northwestern, but. And he also said it starts from him down, right, as the head coach. So Purdue's got a lot of things to figure out, and I think he knows that. And I just think that this performance was probably the worst of the season. I felt like this was a game that they could come in there and win. And I know the defense only gave up 19 points, but it just felt like they were never clicking today. The offense obviously getting shut out. They weren't clicking at all. It was just bad across the board, and I think Barry kind of reflected that in the way he spoke to us today.
Dub, there's a lot of things obviously that Purdue fans are concerned with, and certainly this is not going the way anyone had hoped at the moment. But when you talk about talent, and there's a lot of comments on here, NIL, portal, all that stuff, you got to give Barry some credit in the sense that Powell and Correa have been what they were advertised to be. And I think that's something that, Purdue fans need to remember. There's a couple guys in there like that you can build off of. Powell today with 20 tackles. And so just talk about those guys. And at least those have been 2 guys that have turned out to be a good addition as he brought them in from UNLV.
That's something Tom and I were talking about a few minutes ago when we were walking back from the press conference. And Manny Powell, he's better than I expected him to be. He was a guy that was kind of rotational last year. They had Jackson Woodard and some other guys that also factored in the rotation for Mike Shea at UNLV. He's really become the heart and soul of this defense. For my money, he's the best player on the defense now. He's kind of risen to that level, and he's the unquestioned leader. Yeah. I think above all other guys, I think the guys in that room respect him. I think the guys on the offensive side and special teams respect him as well. So he's been the heart and soul of the defense, and you've seen it with his production. 20 tackles is something that Alan might know. I don't know the last time a Purdue Boilermaker had 20 tackles in a game. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's been a while, and I was thinking about that too. I didn't realize he'd had 20, but it's been it's been a little bit of time, I think, that number's come up.
Yeah, so an impressive feat. And then Charles Correa is a guy that, I've spoken about a lot since the start of the season. This guy I'm really high on, and I think he has a really bright future. Super athletic, super heady, just has the football IQ. and the passion for the game, to where you look at him and you're like, there's no way this guy can't be successful on the football field. So the Purdue's got two really good linebackers, and Alex Sanford, I think, has been playing well as the season's gone on, as well. I think you probably saw his best game today too. So Purdue's got a pretty solid linebacking core, and that's something that Mike Shear can build around moving forward.
Okay. Obviously, in moments like this, we get a lot of questions about future and what we think. Obviously, the money is a big part of all of this. I know Purdue is behind in NIL, but why not have transparency on how much? Partly because the only transparency Purdue has to report or will be dealing with is revenue share, which is the quote $20.5 million. The Big Ten, again, it's different when you have to compete. People have to understand the difference. NIL is different than rev share. It's a totally different thing. There obviously all has to do with how these guys, how players are compensated throughout their time here. But Purdue is, I don't know, the question about why the Boilermaker Alliance is no longer, and Purdue's one of the few that don't, if not the only in the Big Ten that doesn't have a quote unquote collective. Purdue hired folks in-house to help with the NIL. There's certain ways within the rules that you can do that. And I know they're still actively trying to make connections on the NIL front. I can't speak to that. I don't know why that went away. I do know that Purdue's trying to be as aggressive as it can be from that standpoint, but that's always a common, I'm not to say a misconception, but the reality of all this when things aren't going well. And when you see Indiana doing what it's doing, you have to remember too that that a lot of this happened leading into to July 1st and when revenue share began, and the backing up of the Brinks truck. Now, obviously, Indiana and some others have there's been a lot of talk, and whether it's true or not, I think there's probably some truth to it that Indiana, for example, is near the upper tier in NIL opportunities. But I think it's still a little bit early to say, who's found a niche and a way to compete in men's basketball and keep guys here. I don't think, at least from talking to the coaches and around people around the program, that they don't feel like it's an existential issue. That they can compete, but they're not competing at the level, especially when you lose a game 19-0 to Northwestern. All these things get caught into question. And I don't know, guys, if you have anything else to add to that. But I do think that's kind of where we are with this whole thing. They're not ignoring it. And I'm not apologizing for folks. To be very clear. I do know enough people that are involved both in and out that they are very aware of the situation and trying to make sure Purdue that money does not become a deterrent to what Purdue's trying to get done. Lots. Anybody else has to add on that front?
Well, I had a question, for you. We saw some emergence of Antonio Harris for a couple of games, and now tonight you see Malachi Thomas out there. Any thoughts on that subject? Because I didn't hear anything from the Purdue radio crew or from Tom in terms of injury report listing him out. So just any thoughts on why they may have shifted toward Thomas?
Yeah, I think Thomas had a couple good runs last week against Minnesota, and Harris. I'm going to ask Josh Henson on Monday because that's something I was kind of curious about too. And we didn't get a chance to ask Barry today, but Antonio Harris a couple weeks ago had his best game in a Purdue uniform, and he really hasn't seen the field a whole lot since then. He didn't get any carries today. I think he had 2 for 0 yards last week, if my memory is correct. So I thought Malachi Thomas ran the ball efficiently today. He wasn't out of the park amazing, but obviously had the fumble that got wiped out. So that's that's not promising, but that was his most productive game, and I think he could be that number 2 guy behind Devin Mockabee moving forward. But I think this staff does a lot with interchanging guys. You've seen swings where Armand Branch doesn't really see the field, and you've seen instances where he was out there starting today. And they replaced Jalen St. John at left guard in the second half and put Ethan Trent back in, who didn't start today. So the staff is making a lot of tweaks and little changes with the lineup and the rotations and whatnot. So I think they're just trying to find a winning equation and trying to find the best fits for them right now.
Well, and one of the other things, you can't do much on offense if you're not on the field. I mean, the first half, you get no ability to get rhythm. I mean, that's again stating the obvious here, but you cannot run a productive offense when you have 6 plays in about the first quarter and a half of the game. And I think that's you look at that and say that's also part of it. Just kind of, you saw an offense the last 2 weeks in a lot of ways with some level of momentum. Yet they shot themselves in the rear a few times, obviously against Minnesota. But yeah, I agree with you. It's they've got to establish what they want to be, but it does make it hard offensively when you're not on the field. And I think that's got to get fixed sooner than later. I had a question on here for Dub, and I think it's somewhat. You obviously cover recruiting closely. Do you think the season is going to affect recruiting at this point? And I think it can. I'm going to answer it from a 35,000 foot thing. Is that, man, you ought to think that it would give guys, if Barry Odom and company can sell this right, there's opportunity to play. But Dub, what's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I think it's different for every kid. Recruits want different things. Whether that's a family atmosphere, relationship with the coaching staff, NIL money, playing time, the ability to get on the field early. Very rarely are they looking for actual school reasons as their main top reason. But there's still several guys out there that do speak to the academic part of going to Purdue. But I do think that the losing contributes to recruiting success, is directly correlated. Obviously, guys want to go places where they're going to win. That's the name of the game. And you saw it last year with that 2025 class that Ryan Walters put together. There was a lot of guys that I really liked in that class and I thought were very talented, and they started seeing the writing on the wall pretty early on and started looking around at other programs. You can look at that and say, like, yeah, they knew Walters was going to get fired. I think Barry Odom has a track record for success, so I don't think that it matters as much for this season. I should say, moving forward, they're going to have to start stacking wins, right? Or he's not going to be here that long. But that's true of any coach. So I don't think it'll have a huge impact on this 2026 class that we're seeing right now. I know Purdue's still going out and trying to get some guys, but 2027, 2028, 2029, those classes will be impacted potentially by, where Purdue is at the end of this year.
Dub, John Reinert has a comment here. It says they have to get Maccabee open in space. I think that's something that we've talked about here around the community the last couple of weeks. Purdue with 8 receivers targeted tonight, Dub. Michael Jackson, he catches 5 balls. And then you have Maccabee, Horton, Watson, and Branch all with 2 apiece. Just talk about what you see there from the receiving standpoint and that thought of how do you get Maccabee out in space.
The one thing that really stood out to me early when Ryan Brown was still in the game is it just didn't feel like he was on the same page as some of his receivers. There was two throws to Nitro Tuggle where Tuggle wasn't even looking.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like it was like offbeat, like he had to rush the throw necessarily. I don't know if that was a bad route. If Brown was expecting him to do something different or what, but the receiving core is kind of taking a step back, in my opinion, in the last couple of weeks. You saw Devin Maccabee lead the team with 52 receiving yards today and on those 2 little screens. And I agree with you. I think you need to get Devin Maccabee the ball more. It was odd seeing the split in terms of the workload out of the backfield with him and Malachi Thomas. But Purdue's going to have to find a guy that can be consistent on the outside, because outside of Michael Jackson, they really haven't found anyone else. And Michael Jackson, I think he's a really good possession receiver. He's a guy that he's going to be sure-handed catching the football. Excuse me. And he's a veteran leader in that group, but he's not a guy that's really shown the ability to take the top off the defense. That's guys like Corey Smith, who's had drop issues and had a fumble today, and Armand Branch and EJ Horton and those guys. So, like I said off the top, Purdue's got a lot of things to figure out, and the receiving core, I think, is near the top of that list.
All right, Dub, we're going to let you get on with the rest of your work evening. Thanks so much for your time. Safe travels back to West Lafayette. I know there's some funky weather out there, though I don't know that it's they're talking about Notre Dame USC being a problem, that game in South Bend, but luckily, hopefully it's going to be okay coming. It's not too bad in West Lafayette. Just windy, but be careful on your way home.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks. All right, we're going to bring in Tom Dienhart and let Dub go here. Tom, I don't know what to tell you on this one. This was we're kind of trying not to repeat ourselves anymore, but this certainly wasn't what we expected, at least not what I expected. I always want to make sure I speak for myself, but you picked Northwestern to win, but you picked a 4-quarter game. I picked Purdue to win. But what was your reaction to not only Barry Odom's reaction, but the players' reaction after the game?
Barry almost had an air of resignation to him this week,
That's
I guess
what
you go
Deb
through
said,
those.
yeah.
You got to go through those stages of grief, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell him off the top of my head. No, at one point you're angry and frustrated, and then at some point you have acceptance, and maybe that's where he's at right now. I asked him, how do you fix it? He said he really didn't know, and he was as surprised as anybody that the team wasn't ready to play today. He said they had a good week of practice.
Yeah.
The bus ride down, they were still dialed in this morning. Last night, they did their walkthrough stuff. Everything seemed normal, so he was really surprised that the team came out as flat as it did. And he still obviously expressed a lot of disappointment. He gets it, and he was as blindsided as anybody, like I said. And I guess you wonder how you do fix it. I'm not sure how you do fix it, guys. If there's something inside in the locker room, if it seems not led well internally by the players, I don't know, but something's missing there. It's 5 games they've lost in a row now and counting, guys, and that October that had so much promise is now melting into a big disappointment.
Tom,
And I'm going to say the last thing, I'll let you go, Nate, but last thing I want to make fun is anyone's grief, but these are the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I think all Purdue fans are going through, at least in football fans right now. You hope you don't get to acceptance too fast, but they're in all different stages. But Nate, go ahead.
I put all of those stages, Alan, just into going and getting a pizza, from Marnie's or Bruno's after that.
Yeah.
I just blow through all the stages right there. Here, there's a comment here, Tom, from Dustin Blythe. He says the Minnesota loss was disappointing. This one was demoralizing. And just talk about the radio network before they went off, used words like perplexing, Tom, just demoralizing or perplexing. Just share your thoughts as that's what you're hearing from the fans.
Yeah, the players were a lot like that as well. We talked to Malachi Singleton and Manny Powell, and they had a lot of those same words. And for me, Nate, demoralizing is a good way to sort of sum this game up in one word: vexing, dumbfounded. You can go on and on here. Flummoxed.
Flummoxed is a good one.
My Thor's out, but. Like you said, after that so-close game last week, 27-0, when they showed so much promise and had that game won, dominated that game, didn't come away with victory, you think that would have been a spark and even more fuel to their fire to get things right this week. And it was just the opposite, right? They looked disinterested. They looked unprepared. They looked like they didn't want to be there right from the start. It could have been a lot worse at halftime than it was. And they come out in the second half and they don't field the kickoff. And on we go again, guys. And then we have 8 more penalties today, too.
Right.
At least 3 pass interference calls as well. They lose the turnover battle again, 3-2. So a lot of these same things that were issues of late continued today, other than the drop passes, honestly. And what happens now at quarterback,
that's going to be interesting.
We asked the coach those questions. I asked if Ryan was able to come back in, and didn't get a real clear answer on that. But he said it was a left shoulder issue, it was non-throwing shoulder. He did say that. And they'll obviously evaluate and know more here soon about the extent of that injury. And they'll see what happens next week, who's ready to go. Maybe they'll have to go with Malachi Singleton. Maybe Ryan Brown won't be ready. But, Singleton had his issues today, but he did provide a little bit of spark at times, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing that was most troubling, and you talked about it, was just, like I said, the start of this football game. I mean, you thought, and again, you would have thought Purdue would be angry after letting one get away at Minnesota. And sometimes it has a way of manifesting itself that you don't expect, but it just did seem Purdue did not tackle well off the jump. They were flat. It appeared or looked that way. Again, you're close to it in that stadium, by the way. At those press boxes, you're close to closer than you'll ever be probably in a press facility. But it just those are all things that you got to find a way to fix if you're Barry Odom. And I don't know what the answer is to it, but you go back to work and try to reset things and hope you can play well against Rutgers and get the job done.
Yeah, he says this is one of his quotes, for whatever reason I missed. And he said, that's as disappointed as I've been when I sit here and think about that statement. How could I not get this team ready to go play a conference game? And we didn't. So very frustrated, disappointed in our coaching staff and myself. So he's certainly not shirking any responsibilities here. He knows the buck stops with him, and that's how it should be with every head coach. But now you got to do something, right? And we always talk about how adversity defines us, how we respond to adversity, how that defines us. And boy, Purdue's been served up a giant serving of adversity right now, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond here. Next Saturday at high noon when Rutgers comes to West Lafayette. Again, you look at that November slate and you shake your head wondering how is Purdue going to do against Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, and Indiana here. So Rutgers isn't going to be a pushover either, guys, but this is looking more and more like a 2-10 season, isn't it?
Yeah. Tom or Nate, we have time for one more question. We'll let Tom get on his way, but anything else you want to hit on?
Yeah, Tom, I mentioned before you came on to Jordan and Alan about in Purdue's game notes this week, 979 games played in terms of experience for all these transfers that have come in. And yet you look at the defensive penalties, pass interference, horse collar, unnecessary roughness, pass interference, defensive holding. Just touch on, that's, as we know, has to get cleaned up. And your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. For a team with this much experience, to still be, really plagued with a lot of penalties it makes you scratch your head. And, Barry Odom talked about how there's no more rebuilds in this era right now. He says you put together a team and an organization that plays winning ball. And he said, we're coming up short. And, again, 82 of these players are new, and this is largely his roster. And like Nate said, a lot of these players are veteran players, and they're still making a lot of silly mistakes. And, again, you sort of wonder where it's all going and why these things continue to happen for Purdue. But, again, Barry Odom's very disappointed, obviously. But now we'll see where Purdue goes from here, right?
Yeah. The only other thing I had, Alan, for Tom is it seems as though while he's on Northwestern's campus, behind him there, he's enrolled in some sort of high math class.
I'm doing your homework, Nate. You see that?
Thank you.
I think I'm.
And Tom, before I do let you go, because this is my own edification. Talk about the facility. I mean, it was kind of fun to watch, and I do like what they did with that. Was it functional? Easy to get around, easy to get to Postgame and all that stuff?
Yeah, it was just a cool venue tucked on the lake here, and you could get from the press box facility to the post game facility real quick, just short walks. Everything is obviously.
I guess it's not far, yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of a walk from the parking structure, but hey, it's a walk along Lake Michigan, and it was kind of a humid day. It wasn't real sunny, but you could barely see the skyline of Chicago to the south of us, but just a great setting as you could imagine. And the last time they'll play here, I talked to our rival's counterpart at Northwestern, Louis Vaquer, and he said they're still on target to open up next fall, 2026, not far from where we're at. The new facility will seat 35,000 people. So they're all awfully excited, and they're excited about their team this year. They're one more win from being bowl eligible in a season that people up here didn't know which way it was going to go.
Yeah, David Braun done a good job. All right, my friend, travel safe home. You and Dub do both. We'll look forward to you. We'll get back to work and
get this solved for you, Nate. I got Sheldon Cooper coming in to help me out here figure this out.
Yeah, we're going to say a beautiful mind to that, to be able to pull that together and figure that out. We got to find humor in this. If you're a Purdue fan, there's some of that about. But Tom, thanks for all your work. We'll look forward to reading reading what you have to say about this game and more. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. So, all right, Nate, I'll let you. We'll close this baby out. We've seen this before, and
we have.
And yet it is a tough moment. I do think that Barry Odom, I will take him and not that any coach, every other coach that's had struggles. Jeff Brom had tough moments. Certainly Ryan Walters had too many tough moments. But my point is, it's kind of what you do with it. And Barry is a guy that's got a lot of resolve to him. We'll see if he can get this going. My disappointment is, I look at it selfishly and say, boy, you'd like to have momentum going into next year. That's going to make it tougher, but it starts next week. You got to do with what you got and dance with what you have, so to speak, and see if you can get it going next week.
Yeah, I think as you head down the stretch here, Alan, it's going to be about Purdue fans seeing the team compete and look like they want to be there, look like they want to be in on plays. And if they see some of that, I think there will be a little hope as the season winds down. But if they're not into it, if it doesn't seem like they're matching the other team's intensity, if you will, it could be a long couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what we saw today, and you don't want to repeat that. All right, Nate, have a great rest of your weekend and week. And always, it's a pleasure, privilege, as we always say, to be able to do this and talk about Purdue football, even in a 19-0 shutout at the hands of Northwestern. So I'm going to do my final read, and thanks again. All right, I want to thank not only Nate Barrett and Twin City and Chariot Automotive Group, serving Greater Lafayette with the best new and used Jeep selection at TwinCitySuperstore.com. Great folks there. Nate works with some good people. Tom Yater, another one that had a chance to be with this week. Really good people there. The Union Club Hotel, too. Speaking of good people, Vicki Wicks and company get it done. The Autograph Collection Retreat blends student-run hospitality. You got to remember that, with resort luxury. Enjoy the spa, the Boiler House Prime Dining. Had my wife and some of her friends spent some time on the deck this week at Boiler House Prime, just enjoying the last few beautiful days of October. A great place to do that as well at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Course. It's perfect for wellness and Purdue fans as well as leisure seekers. Our property offers serene escapes. Book your getaway today. Now, programming reminder. We will have our Golden Black Radio on Tuesday, and then come back with Acre Pro Wednesday Night Live. Brian Newbert will be busier than a one-arm paper hanger this week with getting ready for Purdue, Kentucky. He's got a rap video from practice on there right now. But a reminder, too, to make sure that you like and subscribe to not only us on Golden Black Sports, Purdue Sports and Recruiting, our YouTube page at goldenblack.com, but you could also subscribe to goldenblack.com. Some specials going on. Great gift for folks. It's really we think it's a good, the content alone is worth it. Certainly the discussion on the message boards is in our community is the biggest on the internet. We appreciate all of you that are with us, but make sure that you also take a time to write a review if you get a chance of this podcast and Zoomcast. So have a great rest of your week. Thanks again for watching and listening, and we will be back next week. Probably about 4:30, maybe in the afternoon after Purdue Rutgers. And have a great week, everybody.
As you all know by now, Golden Black Radio has also teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet. Offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 and over only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that can expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.